last time we just created one Docker thing and it's all working and everything, right? Now let's assume now we have some hardware and this container C1 is working. Okay, this container C1 is working now, and for some reason this container C1 goes offline. When I say offline, it got switched off. It got switched off. Okay, for some reason, maybe this particular server on which it was hosted went down. It got shut off because of the hardware issue, whatever the reason. Okay, this container goes down now. It means your main application, that is where on which the main application of this particular container went down. Now what should happen? Okay, in the case of Azure, you are seeing, yeah, if one of this operating system goes down, then what happens? You have something called as an autoscale, correct? That autoscale brings back that particular server, correct? Yep. And if my utilization of this server goes beyond certain level, okay, then another server got will be spinned up using autoscale set, correct? If because of the physical hardware, if it goes down, then there is something called as scale set, availability set, sorry, not scale set, availability set, and that particular availability set ensure that you have another server working on different hardware, correct? And then you have a concept of availability zone. So you have so many concepts in terms of virtual machine, right? And especially the autoscaling set, it is taking the responsibility of increasing the number of servers or maintaining the number of servers. The maintaining is, it's not just increasing as well, even maintaining is also part of your autoscaling set, correct? Is there anything that is happening to the Docker now? Now I got a container which is a C1. Now this particular container C1 is went down, okay? And if this container goes down, what should happen now? Is there any process that is building this container on the other operating systems or other virtual machines? Is that happening? Or is anything checking the health of this particular container and ensuring that I'll go and recreate this container, trying to attempting to recreate this? Anything is happening? No, it's not happening. These are all the containers created manually. These are all the containers created manually, and all these containers, they will survive as long as they are there. If there is any problem, then you have to manually go and rectify the problem, which is a tedious task, right? If midnight, when no one is in the office, if this container goes down, who will take care? Maybe you'll get a alarm saying that container C1 went down, but who has to take an action in the midnight on the Saturday night to go and start a container in another virtual machine? Can't this be an automated process? Yeah, and this particular automated process is called as orchestration. Is called as, in the containerization, we call it as orchestration. So what is an orchestration process? In the case of orchestration process, I can go and specify, saying that this is the number of containers that should work. Okay, this is the number of this is how it has to be worked. Okay, all those things you can mention as part of the orchestration. So what is an orchestration now? If I take the same diagram, if I take this same diagram and if I expand it here, okay, what I will do now, on top of Docker, okay, on top of this Docker, I will build one more thing, one more layer. I'll build one more layer, and that we call it as an orchestration layer. Orchestration layer. I'll build this on top of the Docker. Okay, and let me change the color of it. This is an orchestration layer. There is another layer of it. Now, what is the work of this particular orchestration layer? The work of this orchestration layer is to instruct or to keep monitoring these containers which are running on that particular hardware. And if anything goes down, it should be able to bring back that particular container server or do anything such that. Okay, is the work of your orchestration layer. There are many orchestrations. Okay, let's say container orchestrations.
So that's pretty much like a load balancing, is it?
No, that is not load balancing. That is like creating virtual machines, different virtual machines, auto scale set and all. Yep. Load balancer comes after that, right? When you have multiple containers, you'll have this one.
Balancing the traffic between the containers.
Yes, balancing the traffic, but you need to maintain the number of containers, right? So that maintaining number of containers is your orchestration engine.
It's pretty much like a redundancy then.
Yeah, your load balancer comes here, and let's say this is your load balancer now. Your load balancer is here, okay, and all these different containers will talk to your load balancer as a backend, correct? This is what happens. So your orchestration is to build your containers. You remember auto scale set? In the auto scale set, what was happening? You increase the number of servers or decrease the number of virtual machines, or you maintain the number of virtual machines, correct? So that precise thing that the orchestration layer takes care. Okay, let's not get into load balancer now. I simply drew that because you just asked me. I'll just keep it here. Okay, and I just googled it and I said top 10 container orchestration softwares. Okay, and you look at that. You have Amazon AWS ECS. Okay, you have Mirinda's Kubernetes engine, formerly Docker Enterprise. So Docker Enterprise, it used to call it as a Docker first. Okay, Docker also has an orchestration layer. It is to called as a Docker Enterprise. Now it is called as Mirantis Kubernetes engine. Okay, then you have Kubernetes engines. One second. Okay, so you have Kubernetes engine. You have Helios. You have Aptable Deploy. You have IBM Cloud Kubernetes, SaltStack, lot of things. But lot of things you can see Kubernetes here, right? Kubernetes. Yeah. The reason is, okay, when the Docker came out with the concept of a containerization, okay, they were very successful in implementing this particular containers, but they did not build this orchestration layer. It was all manual. Building all this was manual. So because of this, there is another company called as Kubernetes. I'm sure you might have heard about this name. Kubernetes. Oh, sorry, not this one. There's another company called as Kubernetes. See this particular symbol. I'm sure you must have heard on this. Okay, this is AWS, not AWS. This is nothing to do with AWS. Okay, AWS, in fact, AWS as well as Azure, they have services on Kubernetes. So this particular Kubernetes, also known as K8s. What is K8s? K is K, S is the last S. In between there are 8 characters. That is K8s. Okay, is an open source system for automating deployment, scaling, and management of containerized applications. Okay, so it does a complete management of your applications. Okay, now how does this work? Okay, how does it work? Okay, so let's say architecture of Kubernetes. Now when I say architecture of Kubernetes, let me see if I get something here. There we go. One second, let me see if there is another diagram. This diagram is a little confusing. Let me show. No, this is also confusing. I'm precisely looking for a diagram. Let me just check. Controllers. I had kept it on, but maybe for some reason that tab got closed, so it is not there. I had kept it on. Okay. Anyway, so let me explain it here. How does it work? Here, what happened? Okay, you have, since you are managing, the first thing that you need to have is called as your master node, because somebody has to manage it, right? Okay, somebody has to manage something, right? So we have something called as a master node. Okay, this is very particular to Kubernetes. This is very particular to Kubernetes, the architecture. Okay, you have something called as a master node. Okay, let me go back to the same diagram what we had opened last time. Maybe the documentation is there. Yeah, this is built by somebody, but this diagram seemed to be little good. Here, yeah. let me try explaining here, and then let me do that. So there is something called as a master node. Now, whenever you say master management, somebody has to be there to manage, right? So it's called as a master node. Then you have a something called as, okay, you have something called as we call either we call it as what nodes, simply nodes. Either we call them as nodes or we call them as worker nodes. They are called as worker nodes, okay, or they are also called as client nodes. I mean, different people call it as different way, okay, but they are typically clients, okay. So they can be multiple nodes like this. So this is also a virtual machine on Azure, and these are also virtual machines. Okay, now this particular master node will decide where the container should work. Okay, better, because it has to maintain the high availability, because it has to maintain that uptime and everything. So it maintains that container on these multiple nodes, and these nodes are called as either the nodes, the worker nodes, or the client nodes. So I can, in the production, the minimum number of worker nodes, okay, required are 3. Okay, the minimum in production recommended, okay, it's not compulsory. The recommended required are called as 3. Okay, now these we so in some cases we simply call them as nodes only. Okay, now these worker nodes, your master node has to communicate, right? So to communicate these master nodes, okay, you have something called as kubelets. Okay, you have something called as a kubelet. What is a kubelet? A kubelet is written here, C-U-B, you can see C-U-B-E-L-E-T, C-U-B-E-L-E-T, kubelet. You have something called as a kubelet. So what is a kubelet? Kubelet is present here. Kubelet is basically an agent, okay, an agent that will help you to talk to your master node, to your client nodes. So it communicates like this. Okay, this is what happens now. Okay, and worker nodes, okay, will have your containers. Okay, when you say, when you say that I want the user request, I want three containers. Usually the way we tell is image is equal to, let's say, nginx, okay, and then we say what, replicas is equal to 3. We give this command to your master node. Now we give this command to the master node. We give this command to the master node. Now when you give this command, what happens? Okay, now it is the responsibility of master node to create 3 containers. When you say 3, okay, of the image nginx, and put it onto these nodes. So what ideally it does is, it ideally put the first container here, the second one here, the third one here, so that even one of the virtual machine goes down, so your nginx is still working from other 2 nodes. That's how the master node take care. We just simply send these commands. We will look at it practically as well. Okay, so this is how it works, and this is how it manages. Now in this particular example, when you say replicas 3 and when you say 3, all the 3 are running here now. Okay, let me just expand this. Sorry. Okay, you have now 3 containers. Okay, I'll call it as P. Okay, and let me just put it in a different color here, so that you can easily figure this out. Okay, I'll call it with this color. So there is one C working here. Okay, there is another C working here. There is another C which is working here. It means 3 containers are working. Now for some reason, if this goes down, okay, it went down, it is not there now. The virtual machine got deleted because of the hardware problem, because of the Azure's region problem, whatever it is. If this goes down, then what does it do? What we said, we want 3 replicas, right? So this master node goes and create one more container, at least in one of these hardware. That is how it maintains the nodes. Okay, till the another node comes back, it ensures that at least you are running 3 containers, and maybe one on, one of the existing hardware. And when it comes back again, it shifts. So it is all being taken care automatically by itself, without any human intervention. We just need to give this particular command. We just look at that as well. We just need to give this particular command. Otherwise, we literally don't get into any of this automation. It's same like your scale set. In scale set also, you do the same thing, right? When you were hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Hello?
We can't hear now.
Santosh, we lost you now. Santosh, we lost you.
Yeah.
We lost you. Yeah, you're back now. Yeah.
I'm back. Yeah,
You are
maybe
back
I
now.
don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
great. Yeah, so maybe there is in between some network fluctuation. Yeah, I also got an error that my network went down on the Google meeting. Okay, fine. We'll continue. Okay. In this particular case, this is, I mean, you remember your Azure scale set. In the Azure scale set, also same thing used to happen, right? Your virtual machine, when it goes down, even if you manually shut down, the another virtual machine used to come back. The same concept will work here by your orchestration engine. Okay, there are a couple of more things. Okay, before I get into any of the things, let me ask you, is this concept clear in terms of Docker orchestration? And this is very specific to Kubernetes that we are talking. Okay, though we saw so many examples, so many orchestrations are available. One of the popular orchestration, Docker container orchestration, is Kubernetes. The people think of Kubernetes, I mean, majority of the people they think that Kubernetes is the only orchestration engine available. Okay, so it's like that. Okay, it's so popular, and we will learn Kubernetes as part of our Azure today. Okay, that's also available as a service, and I'm going to tell you how it works. Okay, is this concept clear? Please let me know, everyone.
Santosh, yes, the concept seems to be very clear. Thank you. I have one question on this master node. What goes if something goes wrong with a master node? How does that handle though? I can see how that.
Yeah, very good question. In a production environment, there is usually no one master code. You usually have multiple master nodes clustered.
Right, we can cluster it. Okay, fair enough.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. But in this example, just I wanted to show the relation, so I draw one master node. But otherwise, in the production, it will be like in a cluster of like this. Clear? Yeah. Any other questions, please? No? I think somebody was trying to ask a question. I thought was paused. No? Okay. Now let's look at some of the components. Okay. We looked at two components now. One we call it as kubelet, right? Kubelet is what? An agent. And this is master node. This master node, let me just little expand it because it has two more components. Okay. Let me add that. As we are discussing about Kubernetes, you must know them. Okay. One is called as a kube. See, it has four components. Kube API server. So when we say master node, this particular master node comprises of, okay, this particular master node comprises of four components. Okay. One we have is called as kube controller manager. It's called as kube controller manager. Okay. This is which basically is a core part which decides which let's assume that if I decide only two replicas 2, then it means it has to generate only 2 containers within the available node 3, correct? So on which node it has to create, such decisions are taken by your kube controller manager. Okay, so controller manager is your main thing that will take a decision on which node which container should work. Okay, what we are talking is only one container, and I said yesterday that we can have multiple containers running. It is not that simple. We create at least some 100 images with the replicas of 3 4, and you can imagine how complex it is now. Okay, so which container should work on where is taken care by your kube controller manager. Then you have kube API server. Okay, we have a kube API server. This particular kube API server will actually communicate.
Yeah, Santosh, sorry disturbing you.
Yeah.
Actually, kube controller manager, it will maintain the desired state.
It maintains disaster state. I thought that's a main component that will take care of your.
No. There is a there are 4 components, correct? One is
we have scheduler, etcd, and API.
Scheduler will confirm. It will confirm the which node need to be create the container. It will decide by the this one scheduler. Our controller is the maintain the desired state.
Okay, so you want to say this is for disaster recovery?
No, yeah, that's right. The controller, replication controller, and development, those are comes under kubelet controller. That's right.
Okay, got it. So scheduler will take care of?
Scheduler will confirm the which node is free and which node need to be create a container. So it will inform to manager so that it will create a through kubelet, it will create that node, particular node.
Yeah.
Through API.
Got it. So it goes like this now. Okay, so let me draw this later. So this is all put together. We call it as master, correct? Is this fine now? Is this master?
Santosh, this is Abhishek. Is a master node a VM or is a master node a container?
Good question. I will come to that. Kubernetes master. Okay, and you send your request to your masters, and internally all these things happen. Okay, now an interesting question: is this master a container or a node, or it's a virtual machine? It has to be a virtual machine, and because of the load that it has and everything, it is basically a virtual machine that we create. Yep. Is that clear?
So, Santosh, what we learned till now was like initially we started with virtual machines and scaling, making multiple virtual machine.
Yes.
I was thinking these containers are on top of one virtual machine. Like you can have multiple virtual machine, and in each virtual machine you can have multiple containers, right?
Yes. Yes.
Now, so you're saying that we have containers on VM1 and we have a VM2 which is a master, and VM2 master is creating containers on VM1. Is that correct?
So this is one virtual machine, which is a master, which has to be a powerful machine because it is, and it has to manage so many things. Okay, if it is only a test and dev environment, maybe I can go with a smaller VM or something like that. But this has to be a VM ideally, and these containers, you are managing these containers using this master node now, and these containers are created on virtual your independent virtual machines.
But the containers can be multiple on one virtual machine, or each container is in one virtual machine? Like,
No. It is multiple like this. It is multiple here. It's multiple. See here, hundreds together. 110, I think. I mean, on one node, depending on its capacity, you can have many hundreds together containers, and that's the ideal scenario. It is not one or two.
okay, yeah, like the diagram is, it's
No, I simply drawn for the simplicity purpose. I just took only one Nginx with 3 replicas.
so that means your master node is talking to nodes, or master node is talking to containers?
No, master node is talking to containers. Okay, it knows which container has to deploy on which node. It also has an information about the number of nodes that it has, and using an agent called as a kubelet, it goes and deploys that container on those nodes.
Okay, so the nodes are VMs and containers, there can be multiple containers on
Yes.
VM. Okay.
I can go like this. So imagine a situation. Okay, I say image MySQL, I will say 10. Nginx, I may be having 20. Okay, and then I am running image Redis. Maybe I am using 15, and then I probably maybe I'm having what is that, another whatever it is. Okay, maybe HTTPD something. Okay, maybe 25. Now you think how many containers are there now? 20,
65,
30, yeah, 65, right? Now your master server has to take a decision. I have only 3 nodes. Your master server has to take a decision that it has to maintain 20 copies of Nginx. So it creates 10 copies of MySQL, how it creates within these nodes. Redis, 15 copies of Redis, how it manages. 25 copies of HTTPS, how it manages. And if one of the HTTPD goes down, then master server has to see why it has gone down, and again it has to start one. It's all been taken care by automatically now by the master node. Is
so
that
it will
clear now?
distribute among
Yes,
multiple nodes.
Yes, it will distribute among these nodes.
Okay.
Clear? That is the intelligence, and that's why every time I'm comparing this one with your Autoscale. Autoscale, the same thing happens, right? We spoke about availability set. We spoke about Autoscale. It all at a virtual machine level it is correct.
So,
Container level.
can one container have any number of images?
No, one container is one image.
Okay.
One container is one image. Is that clear?
Yeah, but like later, if you can cover this with the load balancer as well, that would be
Yeah, we will cover that. We will cover that with the load balancer as well. We'll cover that, but this Kubernetes concept has to be clear. That is what I'm trying to understand. I mean, trying to make you understand. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me go back to this 3. Okay, and now it is clear. Now, okay, let me go back to the same example. Now, for one of the application, I require one Nginx. Okay, I require one Nginx. I require one copy of MySQL. I require one copy of Redis. Okay, one Nginx, one MySQL, and Redis. And all these 3 should go together and should be deleted together as a group. Okay, these containers, container number 1 which has an Nginx, container number 2 which has a MySQL, container number 3 which is a Redis, which is all 3 using for one particular service. Okay, should be launched together, should be destroyed together. Okay, so what we call it as, we can group them. We call it as group them. So here you will have, I'll change the color of it. Okay, I will say one copy of Nginx. Maybe it will have one copy of MySQL, or maybe it will have one copy of Redis, and all are grouped together. And I can deploy all together. Okay, I can deploy all together, and I can destroy also together. These groupings in terms of Kubernetes are called as pods. We call them as pods. So what is a pod? Pods are basically your number of containers. I mean, the basic idea is you create a pod. Pod is basically a logical grouping of your number of containers, which can be deployed and which can be destroyed together. Okay, they may be related, may not be related. That Kubernetes is not going to check. Only thing is, when you deploy your pod, the number of images that you have in that particular pod all get together will be deployed, and that's what is a pod is. Is that clear about the pod? It's called as pods. A pod may contain only one. The pod is basically a grouping of multiple containers, a logical grouping of multiple containers, okay, which can be deployed together and which can be destroyed together. Is a pod. Pod may have only one container, or it may have multiple containers.
Okay, it's a grouping of an image, or it's a okay. So image itself is container.
Image itself is a container, sir. When it is not running state, it is an image. If it is a running state, it's a container.
Yeah.
Got it? It's the same. When it is not running, it is an image state. It's simply sitting idle. If it is a running, we call it as a container. That's it. Yep.
Not 100% clear again, Santosh. So I'm confused now. You have the image of Nginx. You have 3 replicas. You have MySQL replicas as 10, and the Redis as 15, and HTTPS as 25. So now these are all the images that you are asking the containers to hold.
Asking the container to hold. No.
Okay. So what is this?
One second. Okay, which command you said? Pod, sir?
So yeah, the image Nginx replicas 3. So you are instructing. What are you instructing? Which component or the aspect you are instructing to maintain the replicas, whatever number you have given? So you are asking here image. You maintain 3 replicas of Nginx as an image. 2. So what are you asking here as a command?
Okay. So please understand the difference between an image and a container. Okay, when it is an image, it is like a file. Okay, let's take an example that I have an exe file. Okay, I have this exe file. Now what is this exe? This particular putty.exe is currently in an idle state. It is in my hard disk. Okay, correct. Imagine this is like your image now. Is it doing anything? Is this putty doing anything now? 519
it's sitting idle because it's a package. It's a package file which can execute multiple files.
It can execute, but is it executing? It's sitting idle. Agree? 519 KB of file. This is sitting idle. Is this doing anything now? No, right? This is like an image. When I double click on this, now what is happening? The application opened up. Now it is doing something, correct? It is trying to connect one of my virtual machine using this, correct? Now this is executing. Now this is like a container. Is this clear? To run this container, I need to have an image. Is that clear?
So you're asking, so
now I am telling you.
Where are you instructing to hold 3 replicas of this?
One second. This is one putty. This is another putty now. Now how many putty copies I have? How many putty copies I have? But how many images I have?
1 image.
Yes. Now how many putty I have?
3.
3, correct? Imagine these are your containers now which are running, correct? These are containers which are running. If they are not running, they are simply an image. They are sitting idle. Okay. Now what we are telling is, with the orchestration, okay, we are telling that we want these 3 copies. Okay, this one. Okay, we want 3 copies. That is what we are telling here. When we say image Nginx, how many copies we want? 3. Then 3 are executing. These 3 copies are executing. Now with the orchestration, what we are doing is, with the orchestration, we are telling with the Kubernetes, if one of your one of your container goes offline, then then what you should do? You should bring back. You should bring that. Is this clear now? What is an image and what is a container?
No, the last bit that you said is not very clear. So you're asking the orchestrator. So you have 3 of these.
First look at the manually. I want 3 virtual machines. Okay. I want to take the partition of 3 virtual machines. That is my requirement. Okay.
Yeah.
First of all thing, to do this, I need to have this image. Without putty.exe, I will not be able to do it. That is clear. So I need to have this image in my repository, in my local repository. When I say local repository, in my local disk. Okay. Local hard disk should be there.
Yeah.
Should be there. Yeah. Yeah. Now, when I want 3 copies, what I will do, I'll click thrice and 3 windows open up, which is my cluster. No, which is my container. I'm sorry. These are my containers now, which are running mode. This is virtual machine connecting to virtual machine number 1. This is to 2. This is to 3. Okay. Let's say I'll give the IP address also so that it is easy to understand. 1.1, and this is 192.168.1.2, and this is 192.168.1.3. Okay, which are connected to 3 virtual machines. Correct?
Yeah.
Now, by some reason, if this get closed, now what happened? I have only 2. Yes. What is my requirement? I wanted 3, right? What do I do now? I simply go, I launch again 1 more, and I use it for 1.2. Isn't that what we do? Yes, agree?
Yeah, agree.
Now, what I'm doing manually, if I want to do automatically, if this goes down, automatically 1 more putty should come now. Isn't that orchestration? You agree?
Agree. So, but where is this? Yeah, this concept it's very clear. So, where is this happening within the containerization?
Where is this happening within the containerization? Okay, when you say this Kubernetes, yesterday you remember we executed this command. Let me go back to this command. The first time when we said Docker run Nginx, what happened? It tried to download this Nginx from internet. Correct? It showed saying that, you know, downloading, extracting, and all. Have you noticed? Yes. Have you noticed or no?
Yes. It automatically went and started to extract it.
The first time it downloaded from where? It downloaded from your hub repository. Okay. Then it is in a local repository now. Correct? Now, when it is in a local repository, the next time when you say Docker run Nginx with different ports and everything, it is happening because it is in the local. It is in the local repository. So somewhere this has to be there, correct? In your local repository or somewhere it has to be there. So the same way here in this example, when I say image Nginx, this Nginx image has to be somewhere. Okay, somewhere there. It has to be either in a local repository or a remote repository, but it has to be there. Now what we are doing, using this image Nginx, please create 3 copies of this application, 3 containers of this application. So container 1, container 2, container 3. Is this clear now? Is this clear?
Yeah.
Please let this example now. This is what is precisely I'm doing. These are containers. Yeah. Are we clear here? Still any confusion? When we say 3 copies, it is 3 different containers which are running. Yeah. The same way, the same thing, if you want to do it automatically, you use Kubernetes. Otherwise, everything you have to do it manually.
Can you repeat that sentence? So if it is running, it's called a container. If it is not running,
it's called image.
Okay.
It's still there image. I mean, image will be always there. Whether you run your container or no, it is always there. If it is only running, then it is called as a container. Otherwise, there are no containers there. I mean, it's not occupying space. It is not doing anything. It is idle. Okay. So container is the one thing which is running image. It's basically your running image. So this is image which is, if it is running, then it will become a container. Then it will, and every container will occupy some space on your CPU and the memory. If it is idle, if it is not at all running, then it doesn't do anything. It still remains as an image. Yeah. Hope this is clear now. Yeah. Good. Okay. I suggest, maybe this concept is very new for most of you. I still suggest that please Google it. Try to go to the Docker and Kubernetes websites, search some documentation, and please understand, because this concept is very important. Okay. Now on premise. Okay. If I have to deploy this Kubernetes for the orchestration on the on premise, all things has to be deployed manually. All the things has to be deployed manually. In the case of Azure, this is all deployed automatically. On top of that, this particular master server is deployed by Azure itself at no cost. Okay, I'm repeating. On Azure, this particular master server that we are seeing is available, is managed by Azure at no cost. It is all done by itself. Then what are you going to create? You are going to create only these number of nodes. That's it, nothing else. You are going to create only these number of nodes. You just go and tell Azure saying that I want 2 nodes, I want 3 nodes, I want 4 nodes, and Azure is going to create so many virtual machines for you. On these virtual machines, you can ask your you can ask your Azure to deploy the number of containers that it wants. Is this clear? Yeah, when you use Azure service for the Kubernetes, this is free, managed internally by Azure. You are only creating these 3 things by specifying the number of servers. That's it. You don't specify anything. You just say I want 2, I want 3, I want 4. Okay, let's try to do the same thing as part of our lab. And what we will do is I'll just demonstrate you, and let's